Hello! Again, we're a few minutes early before we start our live video, just to make sure that I can get everything set up. All right. So for those of us who haven't seen anything or just seeing that we're going live, today we're going to be making plastic bag fusion bags. So what that means is basically we are going to be melting down all those plastic grocery bags you have lying around. I think I have about 5 of these bags full of bags. So we're going to figure out how to do that. And my little demo product you might have seen is this nifty little bag. You can put snacks in it. You could turn it into a wallet, whatever you choose. So it's going to be waterproof, it's going to be durable, and you're going to be recycling a lot of things that you have just hanging out at home. So I'm going to start here in just a minute after I get organized. Going to pull up my video here so to make sure I can see everybody chatting with me. So let's see. So, all right, I'm going to mute this because I don't need to hear myself talking. All right. So we have about 30 more seconds. All right. So a couple of things before we begin. Just a fair warning that my cats are a little rambunctious today, so they will be running around throughout the video. So enjoy that. Another thing, before you start up your space, make sure you are in a well-ventilated area. I am in my wide living room. I have my back door open. I have windows open. I have a fan going on over there. We will be melting plastics, so the fumes can get to you, and it's not super safe to be inhaling those directly. So again, make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area. And it looks like we're just about at 3 o'clock. So this idea comes from a couple of things that I've seen on Pinterest. But the bag idea itself comes from this nifty little book that you can get at your local library. And it's called So What Bags by Lexi Barnes. So this is an awesome little book that has step-by-step instructions on how to make your own bags from home, including fabric and things like that. So I'm basically taking the instructions from this book, and instead of sewing, I'm going to be using plastic bags. So getting a little creative here. All right. So as we go through this video, feel free to comment any questions you have. Feel free to say hi. I like it when people say hi. Make sure, it just kind of gives me a little communication to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Also, you know, a little social interaction helps these days. So we are at 3 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and begin our demonstration on how to make plastic bag fused products. So there are a couple of things you're going to need. The first one is wax paper. You're going to need that stash of plastic bags. You're going to need an iron, scissors, and if you choose, you can have scrap paper so you can draw out different designs and stuff when we get to that part. So now that we're ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and plug in my iron. So this is going to take a little bit of trial and error. It's something that I'm still not perfect at, and that is getting the temperature of your iron right so that it will melt the plastic, but it won't completely melt through everything. So what I have found is that I kind of have it on almost high heat with just a little bit of steam. You're going to want to keep this as dry as possible. So I have it on the cotton linen setting. So it'll be a little steamy, but it'll also be really warm or really hot. So if you're doing this with little ones, make sure that you have good eyes on them. Give them a hand, that type of thing. So because we're going to be melting plastic, we don't want to melt that directly onto our ironing surface. I have an ironing board, but if you have an ironing mat or a couple of towels, that also works. So I'm going to have down my layer of wax paper. And my first step is I need to create my fabric, so to speak. So I'm going to be making a large chunk of plastic bags that I'll then be cutting out into my shape and fusing together to make my bag. So I have a couple different options. I have my clear bags, I have my green bag, and a lot of different white bags. So if you saw in the close-up of mine, I chose to leave in all of the logos that I have on my bags. So this is a very Wisconsin bag. I have my shape of Wisconsin. I have my Quick Trip bag. It's made out of a Piggly Wiggly bag. It's very Wisconsin. But for this project, I kind of want to do a fun pattern on it rather than keeping this. So I'm going to be cutting around the logos. So I want my base to be white. So I'm going to take all of my white opaque plastic bags. And I'm going to start with just one for right now. Kind of lay it out as best you can. And now I kind of want to open up this bag so I can have a larger area to work with. So I'm going to start by cutting off the handles. Just using regular kitchen scissors here. And I'm going to set these aside because I can use them later. Now I'm going to cut along the bottom seam. And along one of the side seams as well. So now I've really opened up my bag and I have this nice long piece to work with. Now I'm going to do this a couple more times. You probably want, if you're doing it in multiple layers, this I could go ahead and fold over and I'll have a smaller working space. So if I do that and have that, you're going to need to stack it up. And I found about 6 layers is going to give you something that's thick enough to work with. So I have my 1 layer folded in half, so I have my 2 layers. And I'm just going to keep doing that. Same process, cutting off the handles, putting them aside. Now this one has a very large Walmart logo on it that I don't necessarily want. So instead of opening it up on the sides, I'm just going to cut around that logo part just on one side. And it's a large enough chunk that I'm going to save it for another project. And kind of cut the corners here. Again, I'm going to go ahead and fold that in half. So now I'm up to 4 layers. Now I am going to have jagged edges. It's not going to line up perfectly, but that's okay. We're going to leave it as it is. Excuse me. And we'll cut around the sides and make it prettier once we have it all fused together. All right, one more time. This time I'm going to cut the corners first. It might be a little again, cutting off the logos. Go ahead, once again, open up the corners so it's nice and flat. And I'm going to fold it over. If you want to make something larger, like a tote bag out of this, it's easy. You're going to do the same process, except instead of folding it over, you're just going to leave it long. And then you're going to have to cut 6 bags instead of 3, so you can have that 6 layers. But this one, since I folded it over, it's nice and even. All right, so I have my 6 layers. I'm going to line it up a little bit nicer here. Now, I'm not just going to put my iron directly on top of this plastic because it is going to melt it and stick it to my iron. I don't want that. So I'm kind of going to sandwich it in between 2 layers of wax paper here. So. That. Making sure that it's sandwiched in between the 2 layers of wax paper, so I'm not going to get it stuck to my ironing board or to my iron. Smooth it down nicely. Make sure your iron is nice and hot. Don't directly put your hand on it, but if you can kind of feel the heat from about 2 or 3 inches away, that should be warm enough. All right, and now you're just going to go ahead and start ironing it. You're going to move it back and forth. You don't want to leave it on there. If you start to look at it and you notice that you can see straight through it, that means it's a little too hot. So you're going to go ahead and turn down your iron. You can kind of see here that it's gotten nice and wrinkly. That kind of means that it's working. And I'm just going to continue to iron just a little bit, doing small circles, making sure that everything's together. You can go ahead and lift up, make sure that things are together. Now I can see from here that my layers still aren't quite stuck together. So I'm going to run it over with the iron a little bit more. Go ahead and flip it, get it on that other side too. So this does take a little bit of patience, finagling, testing things out, seeing how hot things need to be, how cold things need to be. Almost there. Give my iron here a second to figure out what it's doing. Again, feel free to comment any questions. Say hello. All right, I'm going to wait for it to stop steaming. Just a little bit, you probably can't see from here, but my iron is steaming. All right. Now back to ironing. A little too much steam. So again, I'm going to finagle with the dial again. All right. Gonna iron up the top here. this one might just be about done up for this side. So now I'm going to carefully pull it apart. Now here comes the tricky part, because sometimes if you get it too hot, the wax paper will stick to the plastic. So you kind of have to carefully pull it apart. And you can see I got it a little bit too hot, so it did end up fusing the wax paper to it. But that's not the end of the world. It's just another extra layer that you have. If you turn it into a sandwich bag, then you already have that protective layer inside. But I'm still going to try and get as much of this wax paper off as I can. Side. Like I said, I'm not an expert at this. This is just one of the fun dabbling crafts that I have. All right. So you can now see that in this middle part, it's all fused together, as opposed to this end that we haven't fused together. So now we're going to do the same thing with the other end. I'm going to reuse wax paper when I can. It can be reused as many times as you need it to. Spread that out a little bit more. And back to ironing. Looks like we have Mary and Camille here. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining me in my home as I do my virtual crafting here. Now there's a hole in my wax paper there, so I'm going to fold that over just a little bit more. So again, I don't stick melted plastic to my iron. That would be a bummer. And I'm just going to keep doing small circles. Checking on it every now and then. There we go. This one feels off a lot nicer because I have it at a lower temperature. And now you can see I have my beautiful single sheet of plastic. Now, slide that over so I can come show you all. You can kind of see how there's holes in it. That's what happens if your temperature is too high. So you kind of want it to start looking like this, where it's nice and fused together. There's no holes in it. If you do end up melting through it and there's too many holes, you can just fold it over and fuse again. And you can keep doing that for as many layers as you need to. So you can either fold it over, you can go ahead and just, excuse me, add another bit of plastic bag to it, or whatever you need. All right, So this isn't a very nice shape to work with, so I'm going to go ahead and trim the edges so that it's a nice shape for me to work with. Again, I encourage you to keep your scraps because they can be melted together to make more things. And the whole idea of this is to upcycle some of the things that we have at home. It's a good use of our plastic bags. If you can't get anywhere to recycle them, you know, recycling them from home into something that's useful. You know, maybe make it a larger one, so you can make a larger tote. Maybe a new book bag for when the library reopens. You can stock up on all those books you've been missing. Now I noticed the corner over here just wasn't fused as much as I'd like. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold over my wax paper, sandwich my plastic bag between my wax paper, carefully pulling it off. All right. So now I have my sheet to work with. So I'm going to want this side that has the Home Goods logo on it to be the inside of mine. But right now it's just kind of like a dull white sheet. So if that's what you want, you can continue. But I kind of want to spice mine up a little bit. So I'm going to use my different colored bag. I happen to have a green one here. And I'm just going to cut this bag into some strips. These plastic bags like to move everywhere, so you may not get perfectly straight lines. If you want straight lines, you can feel free to use a ruler. The sky is the limit when it comes to these fun projects. And I think I can cut one more strip out of this. All right. So I think I'm going to do a fun plaid pattern on mine. So I'm going to take my strips and I'm going to lay a couple of them out, going one way and a couple going the other. So with this one, right now, it's kind of like a large chunk. I'm going to fold it in half as best as I can. Because the more layers I have, the less likely it's going to try and like disintegrate and melt through. And doesn't need to be perfect. You can make it as perfect or as unperfect as you like. All right, and now I'm going to take a green one and go down the other way. And now I'm going to use my handles from the last one and lay those on top this one's kind of less of a stripey. So I'm going to go ahead and trim it. Lay that down. And folding it over, making it as pretty or as funky as I want. All right, so now I kind of just have like this pile of strips on top of my project. So I'm going to carefully re-maneuver this. Take my wax paper and gently lay it on top and press it down so I don't lose that pattern that I just created. And once again, iron. And it's going to be the same dealio. Ironing down, making sure that you're not burning through it. Again, I have a lot of steam going on mine, so I'm going to alter the temperature. So if you do end up trying this at home, please post it to our website. I want to see how this goes for you guys. Mine, I'm always finagling with it, always practicing. Maybe do it on a nicer day. So when you have your house open like me, you're not freezing. But it's okay because I've got my bunny slippers on here. All right. I'm going to do a little bit more around the edges here. Making sure everything is nice and fused together. And grab some more wax paper. Fold this over to make sure that everything is getting nice and fused together, but not fused to my iron or my ironing board. So this project does take a little bit of patience. Again, more finagling. You're up to the challenge. If you want, you can feel free to use one of your awesome library sources like Hoopla, Overdrive, or Libby. Get an audiobook going. Hoopla has music, so you can always rent music. You can rent up to 6 per month. You know, turn on some tunes while you're doing this. Listen to one of your latest audiobooks. You know, just kind of make a day out of it. That's my favorite thing to do. Is I'm always playing Hoopla or Overdrive, playing something in the background. All right, so this looks pretty good and melted, so I'm gonna, again, carefully pull off my wax paper. This one I'm gonna be a little more careful with because I have the green and I don't necessarily want the white chunks of wax paper to be on that and mess up my pattern. This is now a live stream of watching Claire struggle with wax paper. But it's okay because it's all part of the process. Let's see. Karen and Shannon are here too. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining me. Aha! So that's one half of my wax paper. Now I'm going to flip it and do it again. The joys of live entertainment. There's no way to fast forward. You know exactly what you're getting into if you attempt this project, which I encourage you to do because it is a lot of fun. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. All right. And that turned out pretty cool. I like it. So now I have like this fun pseudo plaid, like checkerboard thing going on. So I have all of these like snibbly bits over here on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that. My assistant is here to help with the scraps, of course. let's not eat that. Thank you. My cat has come to join in the demonstration. All right. And I want to get it back into that nice square shape that I had before. And again, save your scraps. They can be used for decorations for another one. Another one of these projects I did when I made kind of like a grocery bag out of old grocery bags. I just chopped up a bunch of different colors and sprinkled it on top and made confetti kind of a pattern. So I had like orange bags and blue bags and green bags, and so it's just a lot of fun colors. So don't be afraid to keep all of this. All right, so now I have this wonderful square that I can start doing things with. So I'm probably going to make another one of these pouches just to show you guys. So first thing I need to do is I need to decide which side I want the inside to be, which side I want the outside to be. Obviously, the side that I decorated, I want the outside to be. So I'm going to flip it so that that outside part is facing towards me. I'm going to fold it about 2/3 of the way up. So about that far. Y'all can see that? Smooth it out just a little bit. Fold it. You can see that once you fold it, it kind of stays nicely because it is that thicker plastic now. And again, more wax paper. Notice I've been reusing the same sheets. If I did rip holes in it, I'm just avoiding the holes so I don't melt things. All right. So now what I need to do is I'm going to seal up the side up until this top part here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be using the side of my iron, and about the distance of my thumb, I'm going to run up and down the side here, sealing that shut. If you don't want to do that, you can also use a sewing machine or hand sew. It does look kind of cool if you decide to hand sew it and use like a blanket stitch. If you use like yarn or embroidery thread, it kind of gives it that cool, funky design to it. So that is an option as well. But I'm going to show you how to just use your iron. So I will be fusing the side shut. So I'm going to lay that down, fold over my wax paper so my project is sandwiched between it. And since my wax paper is thin, I can see the green bag that I used through it. So I'll know exactly when to stop. And I'm just going to run my iron, again, about 1/2 inch or my thumb size along the side here. Just a couple of times. And carefully pull my project apart. And you can now see that it's fused. So it's stuck together. All right, we have someone else joining us. It looks like Jacoby, if I said that correctly. Hello and welcome. All right. So now I've noticed since I have the other side nice and fused shut, come give you guys a close-up of that. So it's fused, nice and closed. And I've noticed that when I lay it down again, it doesn't match up. So I'm just going to trim the side here to make sure that it matches up nicely. Trying to keep up with everyone's comments here while I do this. All right. So smooth that out again. And I'm going to do the same exact thing to the other side. sandwich it between my wax paper. And just run it along the side. Alright, carefully pull this off once again. And we now have a pocket. Ta-da! Alright. I'm going to make sure that this is nice and cooled down so it doesn't unstick. Looks like it's all good. So I'm going to turn it inside out now, or right side out. And again, more finagling, trying to figure out how to get it to work. Smooth it out nicely. All right. So now I have it this far. Come around again. So now it's just a nice little pocket. And since I have turned it inside out, I now have this piece right here. So I can either choose to trim this part, excuse me, or I can go ahead and fuse it just to this side. Now when you're fusing this part, you need to be extra careful so that you don't fuse over the pocket part, because otherwise you'll fuse your pocket shut. And we don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and attempt to fuse it. If you want to be extra careful, you can slip in a piece of wax paper to your pocket to make sure that when you're fusing it, again, you're not going to be fusing your pocket shut. So it's just along the top here to make sure that it won't get stuck together. My iron is extra hot right now, so that only took a little bit here. So make sure you take your time, making sure you're not fusing anything you don't want fused. Well, hello, Brandon. Thank you for joining us. We are making plastic bag fused bags. So what that means is we took old plastic grocery bags and we are fusing them together with an iron to make new and exciting bags. So we are turning the dreaded bag of bags. You have grocery bags at home into nifty little pouches for us to use. If we want to turn it into a wallet, if we want to turn it into a coupon book, or sandwich bags, anything like that. Whatever your heart's desires. After this, you should have all the basic skills that you need in order to make what you want. All right. So now I have both of those sides fused down. Now from here, I can add a piece of Velcro, I can add a button to have it clasp shut, but otherwise right now, it is a finished bag. So I can go ahead and put whatever I'd like in it. And it's kind of this funky plaid, green, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, any last questions before I sign off today? with our fun plastic bag fusion project. Let's see. I'll give you just a few more minutes here. All right. Nothing coming in so far, but that is okay. Just to give you guys a heads up, Hedberg is going to be doing a lot of other different programs. Again, if you have little ones, be sure to check out our children's Facebook page. We have our wonderful children's librarians over there who are hosting story times, I believe, every day. Be sure to keep an eye out on that. As for myself, I will be running programs. I'm going to try for every Monday and Wednesday. Again, at 3 o'clock every Monday and Wednesday, I will have a new craft. So I'll have a new craft on Wednesday. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m., I'm going to be leading a kind of an adult family story time. I'm going to be reading Alice in Wonderland for our first book, and then hopefully continuing from there, depending on how long our quarantine lasts. But I will be starting off with Alice in Wonderland every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. If you can't join us at 9 a.m., that's okay. Our videos will be archived on our Facebook page under videos, so you'll be able to go back and check that out and get caught up on our reading for that. All right, do I have a couple questions? Okay, so I have a question from Anita of why I'm ironing with wax paper, and that's to make sure that I'm not melting the plastic bags onto my iron or onto my ironing board here. Parchment paper works as well. I just had better luck with wax paper because it peels off a little bit better, and it doesn't burn as quickly as parchment paper, though it did kind of work. So yeah, any final questions? Otherwise, be sure to keep checking back on our Facebook page. We will also be posting on our website calendar when our virtual programs are going to be as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me in my home here. And I hope you guys had some fun learning how to make your very own plastic bag fusions. So I guess I will be seeing all of you on Wednesday. If you want a sneak peek of what we'll be doing Wednesday, we are going to be upcycling tea cans into these nifty little trinket holders. So that is our little sneak peek. And don't worry if you did miss any of this video, it will be archived on our Facebook page, and you'll be able to check out the full video from start to finish underneath our videos. All right. But thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all on Wednesday or tomorrow morning if you'd like to join me. Bye!